And thank you so much for your time. So, given that Billy Mugabe is a foreign national and this incident occurred in South Africa, what would be the legal processes involved in arresting and prosecuting a foreign citizen in our country?
Well, good evening and good evening to the viewers of Newzroom Afrika. Thank you so much for having me. Of course, the fact that the arrested persons are foreign nationals, and of course will invite the issues of profiling to see to it on how they are in the country, their status in the country, which is important. And of course, that will determine on whether or not there are further charges of course, contravening the immigration laws. And in the absence of that, and that in the back of my mind, I'm saying, if they are in the country legally, the normal processes will follow. They'll have to be brought before the court within 48 hours in terms of the constitution for them to, of course, be formally charged and indicate on whether they want to canvass issues of bail going forward. But it is something that, of course, there's going to be profiling of the accused to understand properly their status in South Africa to determine the matter going forward.
Abigail, I mean, historically, former heads of state and their immediate families would enjoy diplomatic privileges. We know that in this particular incident, we are told that Billy Mugabe would not necessarily enjoy those privileges. In what extent would it be that diplomatic immunities would be extended to children of heads of state in any kind of situation?
It would happen in scenarios where, of course, in terms of the act, such diplomats are in the country to perform the official duties. And in this particular instance, and you'll remember and bear with me if you have followed the case of the mother in 2017, if not 2018, to the extent that when they were granted those when she was granted those diplomatic immunities, the court found that decision to be irrational. So there are a lot of things that the court would consider to grant a person such an immunity, but in the main, they must be in the country to perform official duties that relates to their diplomatic stance in the country. But other than that, in private matters such as this, such will not be extended to them.
And you make reference to that case of the former First Lady Grace Mugabe and the diplomatic immunity. Do we find that precedents would be set in incidences such as this? Could we infer and refer to such when we're looking at cases that have already happened of such a nature?
Yes, of course, that case set a very important precedent in our jurisprudence in the country. It is something that the court, of course, penned down the judicial reasoning on why such a private matter should not be considered to be fitting within the ambit of granting such immunities. And the court then declared the actions of the minister unlawful and set aside that decision on the basis that it was irrational. So that kind of a case is a case that will be referred to, and it's a case that will guide going forward on how and to what extent such immunities apply. And in this case, I do not really think that the brother from Zimbabwe will enjoy such immunities.
And you believe that he would face the full might of the law? What are the avenues available to South African authorities to prosecute him?
I think in this, as it stands, he'll have to be subjected to the normal process of the South African criminal justice system, where he'll be charged and put his defense and of course be afforded all the rights that any other person is afforded in terms of Section 35 of the Constitution, which amongst others you would understand that these are foreign nationals. It would be that they will be treated as such, and it will be an understanding of the court to find comfort in that those that are before the court, they are of course understanding the proceedings regarding the issues of language, the legal representation, and of course their rights to remain silent. Everything that is contained in the Constitution, of course, will be afforded to them. But as it stands, the offense that they are facing is serious in nature, and one cannot rule off the additional charges, given that the firearm is still missing and there's still investigation that is pending. And of course, such will determine on how the matter is handled further. But I do not think there's anything that is an exception in treating these accused persons before court.
Abigail, we've seen in previous instances, and there's quite a perception amongst communities, especially when it comes to high-profile families, that there would be a treatment of kid gloves when it comes to certain individuals. How imperative is it for this case to be treated and gone through meticulously so that at no point can it go back to the criminal justice system that there was preferential treatment for someone who is the son of a former statesman?
I think the criminal justice system of the country has evolved in such a way that transparency in handling these cases have elevated its level. We are able to access the courts and the court's operation in different ways, particularly the way in which the media broadcast them. So of course, one expected this to be treated in a way that any other South African or any other person will be treated before the law. And it is a point that one should, of course, emphasize to say that the manner in which a criminal justice system operates should, from a viewer at home, instill some confidence, instill some public trust. So the way in which it will unfold, the way in which it's going to be investigated by the police, the way in which it's going to be presented before the court should be an ordinary process that would an accused person face before the court for the criminal justice system to remain with the confidence of the public.
And the inverse would also apply when we speak about administering the fair and transparent ways of justice. This would also be in him not being prejudiced based on the fact that he is the son of a former statesman.
Yes, that's why I started by the rights of the accused persons, the detained person, and the arrested person in terms of Section 35 of the Constitution. Such will be afforded to him. And of course, I think earlier on the reports were that lawyers have been going into that particular police station where they are being detained. And I think that invokes the issues of having been legally represented when they make those statements, the warning statements. Of course, that will be taken from them. And that is to ensure that they are afforded the protection that the Constitution affords any person whom the law presumes innocent until they are proven guilty.
Would we find a situation where there would be international diplomatic interference, where the Zimbabwean government might come in and want to invoke him having that diplomatic immunity?
I do not anticipate that, but of course, you'd remember that in the diplomatic level, such would have to be handled, but I don't think such will have a bearing on the matters before the courts. The courts will have to be persuaded to, of course, come up with reasons on why the accused should not follow proper processes. And if that happened, which happened in 2017, there is still another avenue when such decisions can be brought before the court to determine their rationality, their reasonableness on whether or not such decisions, when they are taken, there is a thorough consideration of the legal applications and the statutes that are applicable therefore. So it is not, and even if there can be any negotiation somewhere, such decisions, if they have to come and impact on their processes of court, they'll have to come with reasons that judicially will stand the test of time.
And do you think such incidences strain the diplomatic relations between two countries?
In a general view, not necessarily a legal view, it can strain because you'd expect that children of the head of state should, of course, know better. But one cannot crucify the parents for the behavior of their children. We can only treat the arrested person who is before court as an individual. But one can say much is expected to those that much is given.
All right. Thank you so much, Abigail, for just explaining some of those legalities for us. Please stay with